service corridor. There is no mock drill planned for the day. All hotel associates are trained to handle emergency situations. In case of an emergency, we request you to remain calm and follow their instructions. Now, before we proceed to the session, I also want to take a moment to share something powerful. This year, in partnership with Cool the Globe, we can all take real climate action right here, right now. Download the Cool the Globe app for free, join the WSDS community, and complete simple sustainable tasks during the summit. The top 10 participants on the leadership will be recognized as our most sustainable delegates. Let us truly walk the talk together. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic lineup of speakers for this important session on transformations through and for nature. Transforming through and for nature explores how nature-based solutions can drive climate resilience, restore ecosystems, and reframe development pathways. This session will highlight how protecting and working with nature can deliver co-benefits for people, planet, and prosperity. As outlined in the agenda, the session will begin with brief framing remarks by the chair, followed by a keynote interventions from our distinguished panelists. We will then move on to a moderated discussion among the speakers. Allow me to introduce our esteemed panelists and invite them on the dais. Her Excellency, Ms. May Ellen Stenner, Ambassador of Norway to India, Royal Norwegian Embassy, New Delhi. Ms. Deshan Sering, Regional Director for Asia and the Pacific, United Nations Environment Programme. Mr. Amit Joshi, CEO, Palladium India. Ms. Martina Otto, Head of Secretariat of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, United Nations Environment Programme. Ms. Supriya Sahu, Additional Chief Secretary to the Government, Department of Environment, Climate Change and Forests. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the chair and moderator for this session, Ms. Tina Jha, Senior Anchor, Sansad TV. Ma'am, I invite you to take over the session. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mansi. Good morning, distinguished members on the panel, dignitaries sitting in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. It's an immense privilege and an honor to welcome you this morning to the leadership panel on transformations through and for nature at the 25th World Sustainable Development Summit. Before we begin the session, at the outset, I think it's appropriate to congratulate Terry for driving ambition and action on sustainable development for the last 25 years now. For 2.5 decades, the WSDS in particular has become a converging point of sorts for policymakers, for climate experts, researchers, industry leaders, members of the academia, also civil society and community members, most importantly, to sit together, deliberate, and try to translate the science of sustainability into practical action. So, Dr. Dhawan, let me congratulate you on behalf of Sansad TV for this commendable work that you've been doing for the last 2.5 decades. Also to every member of TERI who's made this possible, that we are now part of this milestone journey celebrating the silver edition of the World Sustainable Development Summit. And we wish TERI greater success in accelerating this transformation. Transformation is the key word here. In fact, you heard the inaugural session yesterday where the Environment Minister of India, Shri Bhupendra Yadav, emphasized that given the scale and impact of the current global climate challenges that we are in, transformation has to go beyond the small policy changes, bring about some structural changes in every aspect of the topic. So in terms of our consumption patterns, the economic models that we are following, the energy systems, the global governance frameworks, and so on. That's what the WSDS 2026 is focusing on under the broader theme that you're aware of, Parivartan, transformations, vision, voices, and values for sustainable development. In this particular session, we'll focus on how is nature helping us find solutions to some of the most pressing global challenges today, how are nature-based solutions being used effectively in different parts of the world, and how can some of those best practices be implemented on a wider scale. These are some aspects that we will discuss with our distinguished members on the panel. But before we begin the keynote addresses by each of the distinguished speakers, I'd like to invite Dr. Vibha Dhawan on the stage to first set the context of the day. Ma'am.
Very good morning to all of you, and thank you for being with us early in the morning. What we are going to discuss today, of course, the first two sessions I'll emphasize on them first, and that is transformation through and for nature. And the other one is basically towards a Himalayan coalition for sustainable development. Now, why these two are extremely important? Not that COVID was something very unfortunate, but it taught us many things. And the most important lesson was leave things to nature and they will recover. So whether it was air, whether it was water, everything was cleaned when activities of the so-called most intelligent living being, humans, were inside their houses. So therefore, that shows that it's our actions which are putting too much pressure on Mother Earth. But then Mother Earth also provides us with practically all the solutions. They have power to regenerate. They can clean themselves. But what is happening is, one is our greed, and that is where sustainability plays a very important role. Can we really look at my own carbon footprint every day? And I always say we all contribute to the changing climate, and we all are impacted by the climate change. The unfortunate part is that those who are responsible for higher carbon footprint are not the ones who suffered the most. It is those practically who hasn't contributed much to the changing climate. They are the worst affected by it. Now let's look at, because we are trying to find solution, and I'll say it's not a magic bullet. No one solution is going to save the planet. There are going to be every small actions which all will collate together and save us. And nature-based solutions, they are going to play a very important role. Look at trees. Without, and in fact, yesterday's PM message, one thing which was there in Sanskrit Shaloka, tree doesn't eat its own fruit. Rivers don't drink their own water. So they are always in the giving mode. But then as humans, we need to extract only that much that we require. The present day, the way we are consuming, we require 1.5 Earth, if not more. And that Earth is not going to come from anywhere. What we need to do is something which was regenerating, self-generating itself. We now need to take extra care that their numbers, that number of trees are increased. We take care of biodiversity. We ensure that the natural resources like water, those are conserved for our future generations. They are not polluted, and really speaking, we all can look back. Perhaps a decade ago, you felt safe drinking water from the tap, which is not the case any longer. And let's look into that we don't land up in a situation where you also have to carry a oxygen cylinder at the back so that you're able to breathe there. So to prevent that this session becomes extremely important. What is it we should be doing? And the next session, which is on Himalayas, so that is where we also look into and we start questioning how the states in the Himalayan region should grow. And we also say that the carrying capacity of those cities is not what we are aiming at. Because what we are doing is we are going for construction, we are going for hotels, and natural resources which are already not there or very meager, we are exploiting them to the fullest extent. For example, if you stop spraying at higher altitude, what's going to happen to the populations which are staying in the comparatively lower down the hill? So those are becoming problems. But that doesn't mean that we tell them that you can't grow. It is that you start mirroring what is happening over there, and you take preventive steps or right from the beginning so that it doesn't become a problem. Last year, in a way, unfortunately, in my country, in India, we really faced many calamities, both in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and we lost many lives, and villages after villages, they were simply washed away. So to ensure that such incidents, I won't say we can stop them, but they are minimized. And we also have a plan, how do we ensure that those communities, we settle them in no time, because that human life, those communities are as important as, I'll say, my own life. So we have to work in that direction towards their development plan, and these 2 sessions will be dedicated to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan, for setting the context on how protecting and working with nature can help deliver co-benefits for us, the people, the planet, and for our prosperity. Through this session, we will explore with distinguished members of the panel how nature-based solutions can drive climate resilience, can restore the ecosystems, and also help reframe the development pathways. Let me begin the session by inviting Her Excellency Ms. May Ellen Stenner, Ambassador of Norway to India, Royal Norwegian Embassy, New Delhi, to deliver the keynote address, touching upon some of the guiding questions that we have for this session on how can nature-based solutions be mainstreamed into national and corporate climate strategies, also what policy and financial mechanisms can scale investment in ecosystem restoration and protection, and most importantly, how can we ensure that solutions for nature also deliver equitable outcomes for communities. That's what India stands for. You would recall back in 2023 when India chaired the G20, our motto was Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which is the world is one family. At the recently concluded AI summit, what we focused on was inclusive and responsible use of AI. So based on that policy that India has, that whatever we have should be for the larger good of humanity, I now open the floor for keynote addresses by each of the speakers. Ambassador, over to you now.
Well, thank you so much. I think
yes,
this is you can hear me now. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be part of such a distinguished panel here up with me. But also good morning to all in the room, ladies and gentlemen. It's very good to have you all here. Let me also begin with congratulating Terry on the Silver Jubilee edition of this World Sustainable Development Summit. I am here for the 3rd time, and it's really a big pleasure to be here again speaking at the summit. And what a pertinent subject we are having this morning. The climate and nature crisis are interconnected, and they must be solved together. Nature has created a livable climate for humans on Earth, but we have never affected nature as much as we do now, and climate change is increasing the burden. At the UN Environmental Assembly in 2021, we agreed that nature-based solutions must benefit both human well-being and biodiversity at the same time. When we see it all as part of one system, we can maximize the positive effects for both people and climate and nature, and avoid negative side effects. For Norway, that means that we are committed to the following. First, actively promote the full potential of nature-based solutions. Second, upscale nature-based solutions as viable alternatives to technological solutions. And third, ensure social and environmental safeguards. People and communities must participate in the development of nature-based solutions, as has already been mentioned here. In Norway, we have always been proud of our connection with nature. We live among, we live with, and we live in harmony with nature. The way we interact with nature has an impact on us. I will now cite a few examples on how in Norway we try to work through and for nature. Let me just first say a bit about international collaboration and initiatives that Norway supports. We focus particularly on two areas, the forest and the oceans. So they are not small areas. Let me mention the forests first. They are key ecosystems. Halting and reversing tropical forest loss is one of the most powerful nature-based solutions to reach the global biodiversity and climate goals. Norway is committed to playing a leading role in protecting and restoring the world's forests. I would like to mention a few important examples of how we work with others. The first one is Norway's Forest and Climate Initiative. We call it NICFI. Since 2007, NICFI has contributed $5 billion in grants to protect rainforests. 2 years ago, we extended this initiative until 2035. We work with some of the most important forest countries to scale up sustainable land use and supply chains, to secure and protect the forests and land tenure rights of indigenous people, and to mobilize forest-positive public and private finance. The second example is the Tropical Forest Forever facility. Norway has committed up to $3 billion to this new global fund to safeguard tropical forests for future generations. TFFF represents a major shift in how the world values and protects tropical forests. By addressing market failure and paying for the ecosystem services these forests provide. It creates a powerful financial incentive to keep forests standing rather than cutting down. Then a few words on the oceans. Oceans can provide win-win solutions for biodiversity, climate and development, where we make nature-based solutions possible. Like India, Norway is an ocean nation. In fact, our ocean area is almost as big as India's, while the land area and the population is much smaller. Therefore, we are a leading supporter of global ocean governance, funding UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission and the UN Ocean Decade, focusing on science and capacity development. Among the nature-based solutions that Norway is highlighting for enhanced global actions are increasing carbon storage in the seabed, protecting and restoring coastal and marine ecosystems. International cooperation is central to Norway's ocean policy, of course, because the ocean is international, and we prioritize healthy oceans, research, innovation, and diplomacy. Norway's global program against plastic marine pollution provides major funding and partnerships to reduce plastic waste in developing countries. We have dedicated more than $350 million to strengthening policies, improving waste management, and supporting global action, such as the Global Plastics Treaty that we hope to conclude soon. Through this plastic marine pollution program, we also have 8 projects in various parts here in India. Our ocean cooperation with India goes back to 1952, when our first project on fisheries started in Kerala. Our ocean partnership is still going strong. The new or more modern phase started in 2019. Then our Prime Minister Modi and our then Prime Minister Solberg elevated oceans to a topmost priority for both countries by establishing the India-Norway Ocean Dialogue and a joint task force on blue economy for sustainable development. And these mechanisms are still very much alive and being developed as we speak. So, nature, climate, and people are interconnected. Protecting natural ecosystems also ensures climate resilience and enhances food security and human development. There are challenges, there are potential conflicts, but also great potential for synergies. Nature-based solutions can give local communities an opportunity to contribute and benefit economically. Norway is committed to playing a leading role in this, but we need true collaboration that has only just started. We need to learn from each other to succeed. So also very eager to hear the other panelists speaking here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Norway has championed global forest conservation and ocean sustainability. You've shared examples on how your country has built pathways to harness the full potential of nature-based solutions, and also in upscaling these solutions as viable alternatives to technological solutions. Going forward, we would love to hear from you about how this framework can be extended and scaled up in the international climate mitigation roadmap. Let me go across to our next speaker, Ms. Dechen Sering. She's Regional Director for Asia and Pacific UNEP. Ms. Sering, your intervention now on how can nature-based solutions be mainstreamed into national and corporate strategies.
Thank you very much. And a very good morning to colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yes. I hope the audience can hear her.
So,
Yes,
you know, it's excellent that I follow Her Excellency May Ellen, who's already talked about the importance of collaboration for nature-based solutions. I'm going to talk a little bit about the financing challenge, and I'm going to talk about a few examples in terms of making an economic case for nature. This decade was a UN decade on ecosystem restoration, and we pledged to restore 1 billion hectares. So when you talk about reforesting, afforesting, land restoration, they're all nature-based solutions that enhance resilience, restore nature, give you food security, they create jobs, improve public health. And when we start to look at nature-based solutions in urban areas, they reconnect communities with nature while helping to moderate rising temperatures. But nature-based solutions are significantly underfunded. And here I think I turn to Norway, because Norway is one of the few countries that really is investing in nature-based solutions. When we talk about the synergies between climate and nature, you have the UN RED, really reducing emissions from deforestation and degradation. And here, a country like Indonesia gets $1 billion to really safeguard the tropical forests. And this is the kind of investments that bring, synergies between climate and nature. But this really is not the story globally. We're talking about this area being significantly underfunded. We just released the State of Finance for Nature report this January, and it says that for every dollar that we invest in nature, we invest $30 to degrade it. So it's really quite an uphill task. So we're looking at in 2023, 7.3 trillion flowed into nature negative activities, and we just had 220 billion in nature positive, 10%. And 10% of it was from private sector, 90% of it was public. So we know we have to make a case with the private sector to really just look at really the basic nature, climate, land restoration targets that we have. we're going to need to increase investments 2.5-fold to at least 0.5% of global GDP. And this is just with the targets we have. We're not looking at a warming world of 3 degrees and the impacts of a warming world. So we know that to scale finance, we're going to both mobilize new capital, but we need to reform the existing financial flows. We have to make sure that public expenditure is aligned with nature and climate objectives, harmful subsidies repurposed, fiscal frameworks redesigned to incentivize nature-positive investment. So when we start to look at the decades, actually, of growth that have driven ecological degradation, recently the Business and Biodiversity Assessment Report was released by the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity Ecosystem Services, and I hope you will have an opportunity to look at the report. This provides a lot of really practical case studies, but one of the conclusions is that many businesses lack the data and tools to assess their dependencies, impacts, and exposure to nature-related risks. So here at UNEP, for us, what is important is to make nature's valuable visible. I mean, that is critical. So we need to quantify the benefits of ecosystem services, the cost of their degradation, and this will allow more enabled decision-making and strengthen the case for nature-based solutions. So in India, we have, UNEP has been working since 2008 on the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity. And here the objective is to value natural, social, human capital alongside financial and built capital. And really, in India, we're working on demonstrating the case for sustainable food systems. In India, many livelihood outcomes are very closely related to climate-sensitive sectors. Talking about farming, you're talking about fisheries. The Teeb Agro-Food Initiative in Uttar Pradesh, Assam, and Uttarakhand show that nature-positive practices, and we've done the work that we've done in these 3 states show that we reduce soil erosion by 7%, increase carbon sequestration by 7.5%. The value of water-related benefits are almost 3.75 billion, significant improvement in soil health, and also an increase in the decision-making capacity of women in the households. The findings of the Teeb Agro-Food in India have informed national policy, the All India Network Program on Organic Farming, led by the Indian Council on Agricultural Research. And it guides and supports initiatives such as the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, the National Mission on Natural Farming. And today it works with 2.5 million farmers with an ambition to work to 10 million farmers. So in India, we found that nature-based solutions can demonstrate that it's credible and cost-effective to grey infrastructure. Critical is integrating natural capital accounting, and here the standards used by the UN system of environmental economics into economic planning, budgeting, and really helping governments and businesses quantify ecosystem services to value avoided costs, treat ecosystems as strategic assets. For most of us, if you remember, when you talk about land, labor, capital, natural resources is considered no value. And so we have to go back to an actual valuation. We've also seen that countries are asked the global frameworks to prepare national biodiversity strategies and action plans, nationally determined contributions under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, land degradation neutrality strategies under the Convention to Combat Desertification. And here, when countries make your reports, you must integrate biodiversity metrics into your portfolio management. And more, we're mandating standardized disclosure of nature-related risks and dependencies. And the more you have transparency in the nature-related risks, under the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, there's a task force on nature-related financial disclosures. We now have 730 organizations, and it's about 22 trillion. So basically what they do is, when you look at your portfolio, you look at, there's a nature-related financial disclosure, so there is an understanding in where your investments go. There's a lot of work on stronger environment social safeguards, a lot of practical tools that are needed to assess sectoral exposure to nature loss. And the UNEP Finance Initiative, we have platforms such as UNCORE, exploring natural capital opportunities, risks, and exposures. And here you help financial institutions assess nature-related risks. Many of you know that the UNEP Finance Initiative have worked with the largest banks and insurance companies. And what we do is we have principles for responsible banking, and there's a lot of disclosures on climate-related risks. We are now encouraging nature-related disclosures. So ultimately, to scale up nature-based solutions, we require a fundamental shift in perspective. Nature is not an externality, it's a foundation of economic resilience and long-term prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sering. You've clearly underscored that ambition on nature is not the constraint anymore. You've highlighted certain examples of how nature-based solutions are not just being adopted, but also scaled up. So the bigger challenge here is the financial architecture, which is where I'll bring in our next speaker, Mr. Amit Apatjoshi. He's CEO of Palladium India. Palladium works at the intersection of development finance, the impact investment, and sustainability implementation. So the next question, in addition to what you have to highlight, private capital, we all know, is going to be extremely crucial for nature transitions. But what are the barriers, the biggest barriers, if you could highlight some for our audience here, that investors face in funding biodiversity and the ecosystem restoration that our previous speakers have spoken about?
Thank you very much. And at the onset, let me congratulate Terry for a fantastic event. The subject is quite enriching when we say that transforming through and for nature. I like the for part of it. There is an old Sanskrit saying that Prakriti Rakshit Rakshita, which means that nature protects when protected. A live example, what Dr. Viva highlighted during COVID, what happened. And I must say that while framing this session, it was exactly right when we talk about how floodplain absorbs rain, it protects. The wetlands or the forest catchment slows the runoff of the floods, it protects. The mangrove breaks the storm surge, it protects. So it is very much necessary to understand that how such solutions can be scaled up in a sustainable mode so that they thrive beyond the overall public budget as you talk about. And today we'll be discussing how this development, resilience and economic stability can actually function in India, looking at the ground challenges. Ma'am has been part of the government setup. Probably she can throw some better light of it. But all of us in this room probably would relate to a situation when a district collector gets a call that there's heavy rain, floods, roads blocked. Immediate answer is that what failed? But when you go upstream, look at a forest ecosystem, it is not the drains and the culverts. It's the floodplains which has been degraded. It's the wetlands which has been used for a parking lot or something. That has led to that change of the overall ecosystem. Hence, it is necessary that at this point of time, we integrate whatever designs we are doing in the infrastructure, the nature-based solution. That's no optional anymore. It's mandatory in our development codes. It's mandatory for our enterprise that it is not a ESG reporting, but rather enterprise risk for a corporate also. Coming back to how exactly we scale up, how exactly we attract private finance. As ma'am, you rightly said, there is shortage of funds in this. There are funds available for pilot, but when you talk about scaling it up, there are definitely dearth of funds. Definitely there is no dearth of ambition or ideas, but dearth of funds, dearth of institutional deficit to it. Why? Because as World Bank highlights, or many institutions highlighted, that these solutions would not work only with good intentions. It should work with a right institutional mechanism, right governance framework, so that each outcome is verifiable, so that there is enough interest for finance beyond the public finance to invest in it. And hence, when we talk about this, it is not just a science what matters, it's about designing this architecture which matters the most when we are implementing such nature-based solutions. And a similar parallel anomaly is that we should treat this nature-based solutions as an assets. We define our KRAs, so it should be treated as an assets. It should have its own performance mechanism. It should have its own, as you say, life cycle management. COVID was a good recycle management that it automatically recycled itself, but it has to be designed in the solutions that it has to have its own governance arrangements also. And when we talk about India, as in all of us are here to discuss how India can live this decade and ahead, protecting its nature and also enabling the benefits of it. There are so many examples in India right now, and I'm sure this room is filled with breadth of knowledge about India. There is mangrove protection involving communities, the Misty program or the Ban Nagar Yojana program, which is aimed at transforming urban islands from urban infrastructure, from heat waves and so on and so forth. And there are so many examples of it. But what exactly is the constraint is not just the ambitions or ideas of the program, but how exactly we can institutionalize effective designs. Now, nature-based solutions are to be designed so that there are core development tools. And a similar system was designed when probably a decade back we reformed our infrastructure sector, wherein we planned, we had enough pipeline of investable projects, we had financing mechanism, we had right governance systems, and we treated our infrastructure development as a system level, not at a particular site level. Hence, when we are designing such nature-based solutions, that is that entire ethos which has to be bought in. It has to be seen as a system level, not at individual slides, individual spurts of successes in pilots. And this doesn't come from a theoretical approach, but there has been so many global examples. While both of our distinguished panelists talked about various examples in Norway and what UNEP has done, we at Palladium, having worked almost across 90 countries, developing or implementing so many projects, still it's a learning. There's a fantastic program designed, and we will talk about the programs later, in terms of UK National Park River, wherein the mandate is to transform 15 UK National Park with catalyzing private capital, ensuring the local communities' interests are taken care of by ensuring that we create an investable pipeline of project for 10,000 hectares, mobilize, and so far as a part of the program we have mobilized roughly around 70 million pounds from the private capital to be invested on the project itself. And hence it is the rights of the land managers, it's the rights of the investors, all taken care of while we design this program. And there are so many global examples, not just from Palladium, but I'm sure there are enough examples across the room and across the globe which we can learn from. Closing on, what exactly matters for now India and what we can learn from our global and Indian examples. One, concentrate. We pick up geographies, we pick up the floodplains and the wetlands, and have a system-based approach in a full stack systems approach, so that it is not that we do everything for everywhere and the impact is limited. Second, what we have learned from our project is that there has to be fund preparation. As in, we just not focus on implementation. There has to be right preparation facility. As in, probably from an India perspective, we can think of a NBS preparation facility, which would invest in creating pipeline of projects, which can attract private capital along with the public budget. So that hence the focus should be also in preparing right investable project which has a sustainable approach to it. Third, whatever limited capital available with multilateral institutions, this should be blended early to maybe the first loss guarantee or performance contracts or pay for results contracts, so that at least the real stakeholders are not feeling the pain of implementing this NBS. And last, and probably my favorite, which we have observed across projects and most importantly in India, is that we treat the communities as beneficiaries. They are not beneficiaries. They need to be owners in these programs. They have to be embedded in our program as owners. They have to be embedded in our programs as stakeholders, taking care of the operations, taking care of the benefits of this NBS programs. For example, the Nature Scot program, which is part of our River program, which we have done in Scotland, the carbon rights, the benefits of it is passed on to the communities. So that's how probably they would have a skin in the game to ensure that the NBS solutions are effectively implemented. And I must say that with the right intent, which we already have as a country for growth, the right public mandate to protect the nature, there is no second option right now. With such institutional mechanism, focus and outcome based approach, we would make nature the best development partner, and that's probably should be the aim for us. We can discuss about the examples in the subsequent
Absolutely.
session.
On how to take forward is what we thought of in the last 15 minutes once all the speakers have delivered the keynote addresses. So based on what you've said, I'll take across the question to Ms. Martina Otto. If investors are looking for, say, clear metrics and the kind of quick impact in terms of where the action lies, there are short-lived climate pollutants that present a compelling case. Based on your area of work, how can methane reduction and clean air strategies, they can become the low-hanging fruit to begin with? So when we're talking about one step at a time, these are areas that you've already worked in. You know how successful examples they can be in replicating it to further bigger strategies.
Yes. Fantastic. Can you hear me?
Yes, please
Thank
go
you
ahead.
very much. And indeed, there is a fast solution at our hands that also is not seeing enough investment. And I would like to add an arc to the discussion that we've seen here already. So I'm Martina Otto, and I lead the Secretariat of the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. And obviously, I'm very, very happy to be here with you. And a big thank you to Terry, and also a congratulations to this Jubilee edition of the summit. Now, the CCAC, Climate and Clean Air Coalition, is a partnership of 102 governments and over 100 international organizations and civil society actors. Terry is also a part of that, and such is the government of India. And we do work at the intersection of air pollution and climate. And that intersection matters because they're not separate challenges. They do come, climate and air pollution come from the same sources in many cases, and they also can be solved with some of the same actions. When we address them together, we protect people's health, and we slow warming, and we generate social and economic benefits that communities can feel immediately. So I have a message on the urgency and the opportunity, and the climate crisis is accelerating. We heard that already. Every fraction of a degree now determines whether ecosystems survive or collapse, whether communities can cope. Every fraction of a degree matters. And let me offer you a simple image here. Imagine we're in a car speeding towards a cliff, and we've been trying to slow the car down by easing off the accelerator, by cutting CO2 one policy at a time. But what if I told you that there is an emergency handbrake, like in every car? And that emergency handbrake is this rapid action on non-CO2 pollutants, methane, black carbon, HFCs, nitrous oxide, and tropospheric ozone. These pollutants together are responsible for almost half of today's warming. And because most of them, not all of them, but most of them don't stay in the atmosphere for very long, cutting them can reduce warming within decades. And this buys us something very precious, and that is time. And this is now where I get to the nature issue, why this is also a nature strategy. Ecosystems are under stress everywhere. We heard that forests, wetlands, glaciers, the food systems that sustain people and economies. Extreme heat is upon us. And in this country, there's a lot of measures that have been taken already to address extreme heat. Now, extreme heat not only affects us, but it also affects crops. It affects livestock. For example, cows are much less productive if under heat stress, for example, and adaptation efforts can simply not keep up with the pace of the warming. Now, the non-CO2 pollutant reductions do buy us time. I said that time for ecosystems to recover and to adapt, time for communities to build resilience as well. And I would like to highlight tropospheric ozone. We know it, we talk about it for health reasons, but it also reduces crop yields and it weakens natural vegetation. Unlike CO2 that helps drive photosynthesis, tropospheric ozone impedes plant growth. And that has obviously an immediate impact on how well nature does, how well we can tap into the resources, but also how well carbon sinks function, for example. And one of the major precursors of tropospheric ozone is methane, making methane action also a food security and an ecosystem health strategy. I'd like to also consider black carbon. It's a key part of PM 2.5 and as such harms health. We know that. But on ice and on snow, it also accelerates glacier melt, and reducing it helps safeguard fresh water. It's the freshwater supplies. It helps us safeguard fragile mountain ecosystems, including here in the Himalayas. And we already heard earlier that there will be a launch of HimConnect in a little while. In a cleaner, cooler atmosphere, nature does what nature does best. Stores carbon, regulates water, protects communities. It's a different way of saying the same thing as your wonderful Sanskrit saying does as well. And this is why superpollutant mitigation is a force multiplier for nature. And the best part, and I get to what you started me off with, the solutions already exist, and many are already being deployed right now. Many are actually even low cost. Many pay for themselves over the lifetime. So better waste management and circularity do reduce methane and reduce resource use and thereby ease also pressure on ecosystems. If we spur nature-based solutions, for example, by using urban composting so that organics do not rot in landfills, but we put them productive use in urban green spaces, we have a way to clean the air and to cool cities and deal with urban heat island effect. Methane-conscious agriculture involves better animal health, and we can help improve soils, water efficiency, if we look at rice cultivation, for example. And all this is critical for resilience and for farmers' incomes. If we look at clean cooking, we can reduce health risk, while we also relieve pressure on forests if the cooking is done with firewood. So these are climate actions that improve daily life, but they're also development actions that cut emissions. We can flip the script and deliver multiple benefits with each investment. And India shows what is possible. India has already woven action on methane, black carbon, and HFCs into national development priorities. Agriculture and waste are the main methane sources here. They are advancing through strong national programs and leadership from states and from cities. And as we heard yesterday from the Honorable Minister, circularity, nature-based solutions, and digital innovation, including the AI with the summit that took place here, are priority areas. Here, India's strength in IT can spur digital services that drive climate-smart agriculture, that track methane, and support farmers in cities with real-time tools. Circularity is not an abstract thing. Organic waste becomes material or protein or biogas, and thereby we can open new jobs with homegrown technologies that are ready to be shared through South-South cooperation. There's an opportunity here. So this is sort of where I've come to with the climate actions and where India shows what is possible and can be done. And to end with the image that I started us off with, this vehicle running towards the cliff. Well, it's in our own hands whether we want to give the story a different ending, whether we pull the handbrake forcefully and grab the opportunity that is there, ready for the taking. What we need is more finance. What we need is more partnership. What we need is collaboration across different ministries to make this work. And on the financing side, there's there's a bridge to, or there's a gap to be bridged still in knowing more about the technologies and in knowing more about the financing tools. You talked about the project pipelines. They're absolutely critical that we develop them as we go forward, and we're here to help, and we're here to engage with all of you. And for that, I'd like to thank you.
Certainly. So nature-based solutions, as has been mentioned by Ms. Martina, is that I think what's also come out of what's been discussed is nature-based solutions are no longer peripheral ideas. They're very much at the center of our climate resilience efforts, and the thrust has to be towards enhancing the awareness, talking about the benefits that are already visible, but most importantly, accelerating adoption. And that's what we will try and touch upon in the last few minutes of the conversation. But as we take forward the session on mainstreaming nature-based solutions, I introduce the next speaker, Ms. Supriya Sahu. She's Additional Secretary, Department of Environment, Climate Change and Forests, Government of Tamil Nadu. And she was honored with the UN Environment Programme's 2025 Champions of the Earth Award for undertaking. She undertook various initiatives to showcase how integrated governance and nature-based solutions, along with a mix of low and high-tech interventions, can protect the vulnerable communities while also reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. So, Ms. Sahu, over to you on what you have to add to the conversation that have already taken place. But most importantly, since you are at the intersection of policy and governance, and you're implementing it on the ground, I'm sure the audience here would love to hear some examples that have worked best in the area that you're working in.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Terry. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to straight away start with some practical examples of the topic, the subject that we are talking about, the nature-based solutions. So let me say that, I think it's very important to kind of look at the issues that are at hand. It was in the year 2004 when tsunami hit Tamil Nadu. Thousands of people died. And after that, a massive program for restoration was rolled out, which also involved a huge amount of, the financial expenditure that had to be made. Several decades after that, what is it that we are doing? What lessons did we learn from such a mammoth disaster like that? I'm going to talk to you about that. Everywhere, I think the speakers here, they highlighted so many challenges that we are facing today. Everywhere, every village you go to, people would tell you the kind of practical difficulties they are facing today. In one of the villages, mangrove villages in Pichavaram, in Tamil Nadu, 2.5 years back, a couple who were fishing when we were actually going on a boat in the mangrove area on an inspection. And they shared with me, just about 10 years back, they used to come for fishing in the morning. 2 hours, they will get the catch of the day. And all the catch they had to, and they would go back and do rest of the work in the village. Today, when they are in the creek the whole day, still they are not getting adequate catch they have. And they don't get the variety of the fish that they used to get earlier. What more do we really need to have as an evidence to see that this problem is really hitting us? So today I'm going to talk to you about the work we have already done, and perhaps there are some lessons for all of us to kind of learn from this. So learning from that lesson of 2004, if you look at the map of Tamil Nadu, we are a coastal state. Out of 38 districts, 14 districts are coastal districts. We are building our coastline. We are fortifying, that, I think that is the word. We are fortifying our coastline with mangroves and bioshield. But how do you do that? Everybody's talking about the nature-based solutions. We know the instinct tells us, the evidence tells us, the research tells us that they are our greatest ally. But how do we make sure that the nature-based solutions are actually turned into our ally, fortified, so that communities are getting involved and the results are visible to us? So, I think about 4 years back, we set up India's first climate company, that's called Tamil Nadu Green Climate Company, to give a shape to these ideas. Because I think one thing we must understand, it's very important to do things at scale. You see, governments are about scales. If you do not do it at scale and at a time when it needs to be done, I think climate change is not going to wait for any one of us. Disasters are not going to wait. So doing it at scale, and that's where the role of governments, national government, the sub-national government becomes very, very critical. So in order to do that, we set up this company, Tamil Nadu Green Climate Company, so that all stakeholders could come together. It's a not-for-profit, Section 8 company, not-for-profit company. The board of the company has all the important departments of the government. And what does this company, what is it doing? So this company is monitoring 4 important missions, and all of them have nature-based solution, technology, legal protection, doing things at scale as embedded into our scheme of things. We have 4 important missions that are currently on. Let me talk about the first mission, which is the Green Tamil Nadu mission. And under the Green Tamil Nadu mission, it's a massive afforestation program that we are doing. So with the help of the national and international institutions, we have now mapped the entire coastline of Tamil Nadu to see to it where we have mangroves, but where we have lost mangroves. What are the areas which have potential mangroves? How much of mangroves have legal protection? And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that one of the most important things which we believe is that providing legal protection to natural resources is the key to go forward on a sustainable ecosystem-based development. Because unless you have the legal protection provided, the development would happen at such a fast pace that whatever we are doing today, it will be undone tomorrow. So in Tamil Nadu, I think one of the only state in the country, in just last 5 years, we have been able to notify 100 new forests. And that is something like more than 300 square kilometers of area being brought under the new legal protection. Now, once you provide that, these areas, when they become new forest areas, it's very difficult to divert those lands. So what you are doing, you are not only creating the green footsteps, you are doing it for posterity. You're also creating a legacy work. And that's what we need to be doing. So these mangroves in Tamil Nadu are legally protected, but we still have some mangroves which are yet to be brought under legal protection. But it's very important so that they are not destroyed. As much as you restored, you need to ensure that it goes into the legal protection. Number 2, in the last 5 years, we have been able to plant 2,400 hectares of new mangroves and rejuvenate 1,200 hectares of already existing mangroves. I think Amit spoke about the communities should be owners of the ecosystems that we have or the natural resources. But how do you do practically? It's easy to talk. Has anybody done it practically? We have tried. We have set up something called as the mangrove councils. These are called as the VMCs, Village Mangrove Councils. And these are village-based organizations of people, wherever mangroves are. We have set up 45 village mangrove councils, and not only set it up, we have registered them under the Societies Act, given them some financial assistance so that, and training, capacity building, so that whenever there is a mangrove rejuvenation requirement, these are the communities who we can fall back upon. See, another important thing is carbon credits, green credits. Everybody's talking about that. How do you make sure that you do not commodify natural resources? There is a difference in doing the, making natural resources as your ally and commodify. I think it's just something which we need to be very, very, alert about. That commodification of natural resources, saying that, okay, because they can be pledged so that we can get funding. Yes, it's important because you require financial resources, but not at the cost of commodification. So definitely we have to make sure that communities are in charge of it. And I think since the time is limited, I would only mention about 4 important initiatives again that we are doing. Under the Green Tamil Nadu mission, we have already planted about 110 million trees, native trees, ensuring that the native biodiversity is brought back. Involving industries is a very important action when it comes to afforestation and greening. And in Tamil Nadu, 1,000 new small forests, microforests, but not Miyawaki type of forest, because I think it's nice, it's good, but it's also important to have native biodiversity. So we have created 1,000 new, forested areas, all created by industries within their own premises. We also have 100 Maragada Punjoli in Tamil. Maragada Punjoli is basically the local garden. It's a village woodlot. But that's a panchayat village forest, so that the pressure on the forest can be, brought down. These are some of the important things that I wanted to highlight. I think it was also talked about that ecosystem restoration is not only restricted to, mangroves, but I think it's very important to look at, for every state, what systems do you have? So in Tamil Nadu, we are massively going on restoration of seagrass, restoration of corals, and we have already restored about, if you look at, I think it's not about numbers, so let me not reel out the numbers because that can get very boring, but let me leave a thought with you. It's important to look at what islands we have and are they really sinking. So like in the Gulf of Mannar in Tamil Nadu, there are 21 islands and many of them are, because of the climate change, at the verge of sinking. So Tamil Nadu is restoring Kariyachali Island, which is in the Gulf of Mannar, extremely important for us to protect our coastal areas. That work is going on, and I invite you to come and have a look at how the restoration is going, because that also involves restoration of corals. And let me tell you something incredible which is happening because of all the restoration efforts, thanks to the partnership that we have with the Wildlife Institute of India. Dugongs, one of the critically endangered mammals found in the waters of Andamans and Tamil Nadu, they were hardly, sighted, say about 7 or 8 years back. And thanks to all the restoration efforts, Wildlife Institute of India has recorded more than 300 dugongs coming back because they survive on seagrass. So when you actually restore seagrass, you bring back dugongs. And before I close, I'm extremely proud to share the work of my team. In Tamil Nadu, a massive effort has already been going on and we have completed about 34,000 hectares. We have cleared from our core areas in tiger reserves and forests of invasive species like lantana, Senna spectabilis, And it is incredible to see that how, when we have removed these invasive species which are choking our forests now, leading to huge human-wildlife conflict, absolutely wonderful to see how elephants, tigers, deer, gores, they're all coming back. And, you know, because the grass is coming back in areas from where we have kind of removed these very dangerous invasive species. So I think for me, ecosystem restoration is something which is absolutely critical, but it should be done, you know, with science, data, and community participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sahu, for giving us an overview of some of the efforts that you and your team have undertaken, some of which have been extremely successful. We wish you the best with what you're doing. And most importantly, we hope that these best practices, these best examples will encourage the others in this domain to replicate some of the work that Ms. Sahu has been doing. I wanted to close the session by trying to understand one big commitment that governments must make in trying to scale up the adoption of nature-based solutions. But I believe we've already run out of time, so I think the conversations can spill over tea. You're most welcome to join and take some of your questions also that you want to for the panelists. We'll have to make way for the next session. Thank you for your patient hearing, and thank you so much to the illustrious panelists for sharing your experiences, examples, and most importantly on taking forward the conversation on what needs to be done, what is the need of the hour in scaling up nature-based solutions. The solutions are all around us. So as the finance models and as the policy frameworks strengthen in different parts of the world, it's important to replicate some of these examples and the best practices emerging out of different parts of the world. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Thank you to the panelists for taking out time and joining us for this important conversation. Mansi, over to you now.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you to our respected speakers for their valuable insights and to all our delegates for being part of this engaging discussion. May I request the panel to gather for a group photograph?